Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jennifer Aguinaldo. I am the Energy and Technology Editor of MEED, Middle East Economic Digest, based in Dubai. I am very delighted to be joined by a panel of experts this afternoon who will be looking at a very exciting development in terms of building a smart city digital backbone. I will be speaking over the next hour with top experts who are part of a consortium that launched the LuxTurrim5G, an innovative ecosystem launch by 26 companies in addition to Nokia. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce our speakers. Please welcome the principal consultant, Spinverse, and ecosystem leader at LuxTurrim5G, Dr. Marco Hino. Welcome, Marco. Our second panelist is the research manager at Nokia Bell Labs, Mr. Pekka Wainio.
Hello.
Thank you. Our third panelist is the head of Smart City and Emerging Business Development at Faisala, Tommy Raman. Welcome, Tommy.
Thank you. Welcome.
And finally, we have the head of Innovation and Intellectual Property Rights at Teleste Corporation, Dr. Yanni Veer. Thank you all, gentlemen, for joining me this afternoon. Thank you. Right now, we'll go into to speak with Dr. Marco for a few opening remarks. It's interesting if you can give us a context in terms of LuxTurrim and describe what exactly you do for the platform. Dr. Marco.
Thank you, Jennifer, and good afternoon from my behalf as well. So I will very briefly tell you what LuxTurrim5G is about. Let's start from the challenges first. So, of course, we all know that the cities have challenges in terms of urbanization and sustainability. Several different things need to be done really to make things safer, the energy efficiency, air quality things, effective transportation. All in all, smooth living in today's cities and also the future cities. And we expect that the digitalization can play a big role here, especially the 5G connectivity, 5G networks already highlighted by Jacques Vermeulen in the previous talk. So, and the 5G with higher frequencies, so-called millimeter wave technologies. So higher frequencies with higher capacity, super fast connection, low latency, low delays. Those are enablers for digital services and big use of data, wide use of big data, let's say so. But the challenge here has been that, of course, the technologies are coming, and when we are coming to the higher frequencies, we need to have these RF antennas rather densely populated in cities and urban areas. And that's why in the early days of LuxTurrim5G, we kind of took the idea of utilizing light poles as kind of a base for 5G base stations, but then we noted that it's useful to add lots of different sensors together with the poles, so that not only making smart light poles, but making smart poles to enable such kind of citywide connectivity and also citywide, let's say, sensor network, which can collect widely different type of data. So we have three layers here, the connectivity and then collecting data, utilizing the data, building a data platform that can be processed the data to make it useful for services that really tackle the problems and challenges cities have. And that's it about, and it's an ecosystem led by Nokia with 26 partners currently. We have been working last 4 to 5 years already and achieving several things. So the Smart Pole family has been already completed in a way. Data platform is existing and the services are being developed further and piloted. But I think we can have a look at the short video as well to maybe open a bit. This is rather holistic and even complicated thing altogether.
Just outside Helsinki in Finland, a smart city ecosystem is being tested. Here, smart pole technology is being developed based on a combination of 5G technology and sensor monitoring to create a digital backbone for smart cities.
This pilot environment allows us to make lots of different smart city services, development and testing in practice. One example, of course, is already the concept that's been published, Teleste Connected Zone, public safety-related smart and safe bus stop.
The aim of the smart city is to improve the lives of people and businesses by collecting and utilising data.
The big amount of data available which we are collecting through the sensor network and combining to other data sources allows to build new services, whether it's regarding transport optimization or energy-related issues or public safety, for example.
The smart poles are equipped with several sensors and smart technology, which utilises 5G. These include smart LED lights, GPS, and environmental and weather sensors, surveillance cameras, information screens and a PA system, and some smart poles will even be equipped with a drone launching and landing station.
So this is a drone docking station. The drone can land there, load the battery, download some data, and stay waiting for the next mission.
The high volume of data collected is sure to raise questions about data security. For both private companies and government officials, transparency in data collection is important, and protecting people's privacy is a high priority.
So the data security is a very essential question, research question in the project as well, which we are of course following the laws, but we are also proactively researching the ways that how we can secure that the data platform which we are utilizing and all the data collected are processed in a secured way. And as a final result, so in a kind of local city network, it should be kind of made really safe and reliable that people can count on.
Thank you. Well, it presents, it's an impressive proposition, I would suppose, like an all-in-one product covering all those crucial elements of a smart city digital backbone. If I can go to Pekka, what are the potential and tangible benefits? I know that the video highlighted those, but if you can run us through the concrete benefits that this can offer, and does it have to be everything in it for us to see the main benefits, or can you do a modular approach where you can just activate or acquire or pay for specific features of the smart pole?
Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer. So yes. So of course, the kind of main benefit comes from the whole ecosystem in a way, the whole smart poles, data platform, data marketplace, services on top of that one, and then how to create new services in the city environment, and which will enhance the operation of the city, make it more economical business in general. But well, you can kind of also don't have to have the whole system at the once there, so you can kind of have pieces as well. This is our approach is so highly modular and open to other systems as well. So one clear kind of benefit is the common and or shared smart pole 5G network, which can be shared with the various service providers or mobile operators, avoiding this kind of antenna jungle, so that every mobile operator brings up their own 5G small cell base station there. It also kind of saves in the costs, as of course both capex and opex maintenance costs. Then it saves environment in that sense, saves the landscape of the city because it's more beautiful. You're not having all bells and whistles there. And then kind of another benefit is the common data place and also the marketplace to share and trade data. And the one example could be that in a city, maybe I don't mention the city names there, but they have more than 50 different data platforms or data systems in all. And so think about what is the cost to maintain all of them, and how, and can you combine the data from system to system? No, but with a common shared database you can.
Yeah, how close? I'm just wondering how closely should the poles be located for them to work? I mean, this is under the assumption where you would have 5G, is that right, or would it work with LTE as well? What?
Well, in a typical case, the poles are connected through the fiber to a kind of a centralized place. So the data connectivity goes with the fiber, and the pole, the distance from each pole is actually dependent more on the lighting solution, which actually sets the limit so that the lights cannot be too bright. They might be kind of somewhere in the middle. So it's roughly then the 30 to 50 meters in a city environment between the poles. And then you don't have all the poles, smart poles in the environment. They are not equal. They are not similar. So they have a different configuration of the different various IoT devices. So not all the poles have a 5G. Not all the poles have the environmental sensors from Vaisala or the cameras, as an example. But typically all poles have the lights anyway.
Okay. Well, thanks, Pekka. Before I thank you, Tommy and Yanni, for your patience, but allow me one more question to Pekka before I move on to Tommy. In terms of do you expect a commercial operation, or is there something that exists now? Because you've talked about a pilot project. Dr. Marcus' presentation talked about a pilot project. When do you expect the first commercial project using LuxTurrim5G?
Within very, very near future for the kind of a whole concept. So we hope to have a next pilot in somewhere or let's say almost pre-commercial network in a somewhere Espoo environment next year starting. But I got to kind of make a point out that these, for example, some of the services and systems, they are already commercial. So part of the concept or technologies developed in the LuxTurrim5G, they are already in a commercial phase.
Understood. Thank you, Tommy. Let me now go to Tommy, if I may. So I've, as you might be well aware, the Middle East and some of the countries in the Middle East and North Africa region have some of the highest emissions per capita due to, one, as I mentioned earlier, small population, the high concentration of hard-to-abate industries, whether it's hydrocarbons, desalination, among others. And then there's the lack of public transport infrastructure in many parts of the region as well. To Tommy, I'd like to ask, how can Vaisala and LuxTurrim in particular address the need to lower emissions and improve, let's say, the health and well-being of city dwellers as such?
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. This is a very relevant question all around the globe. So Vaisala is an expert in weather and environmental sensing and digital solutions, so global leader worldwide. And we have worked with the LuxTurrim5G consortium by installing our weather and air quality sensors on the pole. So cities want to reduce, as you said, their emissions, and emissions comes from cars, from production of energy, etc. So from an emission perspective, for example, you can install on the pole dense sensor network of weather sensors, and then you can leverage that data for different kind of applications. So if we take the energy application example, especially what could be valid in the Middle East, district cooling. So in the Nordics, it's more about district heating. So you can capture weather data from the pole, and that data can be used by the local energy provider for optimizing the district heating or cooling operations. And we have examples of this kind of application. We have worked with a leading energy provider in the Nordic on the heating side. Mm-hmm. And this can be then complemented by weather forecasts. You can ingest data from the weather data coming from the pole and further optimize operations. So in order to reduce carbon emissions and carbon footprint on a city level. Coming to the other side of your question about how you can improve quality of life, for example, for citizens. So we have also installed on these poles air quality sensors. So air quality or poor air quality is a major issue on a global level. So it kills millions of people directly or indirectly over the years. So people suffer from the consequences of poor air quality. Could it be asthma, COPD, and also cancer in the longer run? So what we can do with the smart pole is also have a dense network of air quality sensors that collect hyperlocal observations, so meaning air quality data in the vicinity of the pole. So particles, different kind of gases. And this data can then be used by different players that can leverage it for their own purposes. So one example we have worked as part of the LuxTurrim consortium is that we have worked with a startup that is leveraging the air quality data for asthmatic patients. So they ingest the data, use it to provide preventive health care for asthmatic patients so that the patients know that there is poor air quality and maybe they should avoid an area or take their medication beforehand. So that's one concrete example. Other example could be just to provide basic data about air quality in a location to citizens. So either through an advertising display or other means on a mobile app. And this data, hyperlocal data, can come from the sensor pole network that has the air quality sensors on top. So that's one example, for example.
Yeah, but Tommy, I would suppose that in terms of these sensors that monitor air quality, I would suppose that many companies, whether they are in hydrocarbons or transport, they might already have some sort of monitoring, a mechanism to monitor those the level of pollution in air, let's say. But I think the missing point would be the ability to communicate that in a timely fashion such that it could benefit the user. I mean, I think in your term you call it data services, but I think, am I correct? Is that the missing part, to be able to make that useful to the people who actually need that information?
Yeah, so we are just one part of the value chain. So first you need hyperlocal observations, so real measurements about air quality, PM 2.5, PM10, SOx, etc. So gases, and you need to do it on a dense level. So quite often cities or some businesses have air quality sensors, but offer just a vague understanding of what's the air quality on the city level. Here you can install it on top of the pole or on several poles, and you get this kind of very compact, dense sensor network that provide real-time observations. And as you said, this data then needs to be used by other providers, citizens that get it through a mobile app, or businesses that can use it for their own purposes and provide real benefits to the city and to the citizens.
Sure. Thanks, Tommy. Just before I go to Yanni, Dr. Marco, a quick question. Is of course it's light poles. They're located outdoors. But what's the solution in terms of, let's say, a railway project where you need to, let's say, identify definitely like the frequency of the trains and stuff like that? Is a smart pole useful in that sort of application?
Sorry, I missed the question.
Do you have a use case where the LuxTurrim5G, the smart poles, can be used in between train stations?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so of course we can implement these smart infrastructure elements in different environments. So some of them are city streets, parks, also the kind of corridors, as we call them, for transport, for example, or traffic, like railways or corridors for some logistics. So as Pekka Vainio earlier told, so then we can design the network in that way that it gives the services needed.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Yanni, thank you for your patience. A question, the privacy issues is of paramount importance in terms of smart city projects, and I would suppose some of the delays in smart city projects would have to do with figuring out how to enable access to data, how you can make use of data in a manner that complies with the data privacy regulations. Can you tell us how LuxTurrim is going about complying with privacy regulations, whether in Europe or outside Europe?
Yeah, actually that was a very big task for us to make have clearance with the GDPR and this data privacy. And I have to say that it was very holistic exercise. There were several lawyers from several companies involved for months and months and hundreds of hours of work, I would say. And finally, I think we got really good results and understanding and learning. It was very educating exercise for all of us. So basically everything starts from use cases, services, applications that you are aiming to develop. You need to know those first, then you need to put those into small pieces and analyze really what kind of data is going to which place, and is it stored, the data, is it destroyed for after some time, or is there a choice that you don't store data at all? It all depends on the use case and application. So that is the starting point. And then if you think about the core elements in the system, the one of the foundations is the network architecture and the cyber security features on that network. So basically what we did, we analyzed all devices in the system, in the smart board. We called it ecosystem, the smart small cell network. So it's basically it's closed network. You cannot access it from outside. You need to use VPN, but you cannot access from internet to that. We did several very detailed cybersecurity attack tests for the different devices and different software systems, and then finally I think that the very big part of this data privacy thing is the paperwork. It's very regulated in the European Union as well, and it's very complex. It's not clear. You need to have this data privacy impact assessment for every service and use case, which we did. And then we had a data privacy agreement with the consortium members where we clearly wrote the rules how we are handling the data. And you have to remember now that this was only for the pilot phase. Then when you go to the real world, then you just need to take care that, for example, us as Teleste, our customers are authorities and public transport operators and such parties which have license to access and operate video, for example.
Sure.
For example, police can access and they can store and operate video. That's fine.
Yeah. Right.
But you cannot really provide the system, for example, to some city. It's not.
Yeah.
They cannot be they need to have somebody to operate this system.
Sure.
And like most of the applications in this LuxTurrim, it includes video.
Yeah.
Some level.
Yeah, I've seen an application or a video where there's a case about, let's say you're trying the law enforcement authority would have a license plate recognition for a car, but then it wouldn't have a color if you're looking for this plate number and a specific color of a car as well. And there seems to be a feature in the smart pole where you can determine at which point you can grant access to a specific authority without breaching the security regulations.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So in the LuxTurrim system, you can basically pinpoint any single camera to any authority to separate authorities or kind of stakeholders if you want.
Sure.
And then I also almost forgot to say that we also have inbuilt features that we can anonymize data, because that's kind of more or less mandatory feature in many places, that you need to anonymize the just to protect the privacy.
Right.
And then there are still, top of that, there can be different means to, for example, in different applications, have this consent from the end user, and it's very complex, but
Right.
it's something you need to have on your toolbox if you are providing this kind of system.
Yeah, I think the complexity comes with the territory, given what it aims to accomplish.
And it's always case by case. Different countries have different rules, but the core is always the same.
And I think
data privacy is.
Yeah, and I think the slightly good news, I think, well, it depends whether you're which part of the argument you're supporting. But in this part of the world, I would suppose there's less security constraints here, because there are, again, different set of regulations in place. Now, I'd like to ask either Pekka or Dr. Marco can reply. I'm thinking about the extent. I'm thinking about in Dubai, for instance, there are hundreds of thousands of CCTV cameras in every let's say traffic light, in malls, everywhere. Do you need to rip and replace what you have in order to have LuxTurrim5G? Can you give me a scenario? Can you walk me through what do you recommend the client will do? Let's say this is a government, a city government, for instance, and they want the benefits that LuxTurrim has to offer, but on the other hand, they have all these legacy systems in place. Where do you start?
Shall I take that one? Yeah. Okay. So
sure.
Our system is a kind of open for a legacy system. So you don't have to kind of replace everything and start from scratch. So you can kind of build. So we have different ways of connecting existing systems. So we can connect the existing databases to our databases. We can also connect the existing camera systems to common backbone network and share the connectivity, or then we can do that connectivity in the, let's say, in the kind of operation center part, and combine the operational systems. So it really depends on the legacy system. So we have targeted that this will be also deployed in a built city already, where there is a legacy systems. Of course, you probably can happen that you cannot get all the benefits from the LuxTurrim ecosystem solution when using the legacy, but that's always happens when you have some legacy systems.
Sure. Thank you very much. If I can go back to Tommy for a bit, you did mention very interestingly about district cooling. So in Europe, you have heating requirements, especially in winter. Here, all year round, there's need for cooling, and it's got to a point where it's become a sustainability issue as well, because some of the malls and hotels would be having 18 degrees at daytime. But anyway, do you have any specific project or a pilot project that would look at how this product, the smart pole, can help in predicting weather changes in the weather, and how you can set, let's say, the external environment usually influences how cool your internal atmosphere can measure. So do you have this kind of applications on the horizon?
Yeah, so with the weather sensors that is on the smart pole, it could be somewhere else, but the pole is also a perfect place for a weather sensor. You can get this hyper accurate measurements of weather parameters. Could it be temperature, humidity, wind speed, wind direction, and you could also add other sensors on the pole, solar radiation. So then this data can be used by a district heating provider or cooling in the Middle East for their own AI data models, so that they can start optimizing the operations of their district heating or cooling network with hyperlocal weather data. So this is one concrete example. So you take the raw observations real time. Then you could complement this also with forecasting. So adding forecasts that enable to get you an understanding of what's ahead in terms of weather. Is it getting hotter or colder, so that you adjust your operations beforehand. And even more, you could ingest the data from the weather sensors to the forecast, so that you get an even more accurate forecast on the hyperlocal level. And we have been working as Vaisala on similar projects with energy providers. So this is already piloted and in operations in some market.
Sure. And that's really interesting. Before we go to some of the questions, please, for the audience, please feel free to send in any questions at any point, and then we will be accommodating them in the last 10 to 15 minutes of this panel. In terms of a business model, Dr. Marco or Pekka, I would suppose, most cities in the Middle East region, for instance, would probably have less issue in terms of funding, but these projects, they would seem to require some substantial sort of budget. Do you come in? What are your plans in terms of, okay, this government, the city wants to look at your proposition seriously, but there are some constraints in terms of how to mitigate risks, again, because they might need to install new things, they might have to replace old systems. How do you go about mitigating the risks of such product, such complex product, if you will?
Well, if I start, so maybe, of course, this depends on the area where we are working, geographic area. So in Europe, for example, there is some public money available currently for the innovative solutions, especially tackling the Green Deal related topics. So increasing sustainability and also kind of boosting the, let's say, both sustainable and digitalization development in cities. And that's one aspect. But of course, more and more, I think private investors are interested in these kind of things as well. So it depends on the area, on the kind of geographical circumstances, and also the role of the cities. So cities have, of course, the biggest needs to make the things well for the citizens. But very often, city is not the only one who wants to invest in it. So some kind of joint ventures, joint funding by where city is one involver, and then the local companies, maybe the mobile operators as well, are part of that. And in our case, one of the business models, of course, we are now preparing, as our smart pole family is already in a pre-commercial state. We have actually a product family ready. So the companies in our consortium who are responsible for this kind of smart pole manufacturing have been kind of made arrangements that they are ready to sell these already now if there's some need coming soon. But then the bigger business is maybe how to operate this network. And there the money is anyway, so how to build those services. And for that we have been studying in the project and preparing so-called neutral host type of concept, where a local company where maybe a city plays a role there, some local, let's say, businesses who are interested in the services, and also maybe some investors join forces to build this. And the key feature here is to utilize the local data in a kind of trusted way and create that kind of local business as well. And we are preparing from this consortium also kind of a business aspect for that, and also preparing so-called neutral host global company who would kind of give the model and also the assets and help to boost these local companies. So several, maybe a bit complicated answer, but several possibilities, and this has been studied. It's not kind of something that we haven't been prepared.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. I've got another question before we go on to the first question from our audience. But I'm just wondering who owns the pole. I mean, who will. So I would imagine a project will be owned by, let's say, a city or a municipality, and then a telecom company would go in to install them. But who owns the asset?
Well, shall I take that one? Maybe Markku can continue and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's also kind of a case by case or depending on local regulations. So, well, maybe in Europe at least, I say that the cities and the municipalities own the infrastructure as well. But then there are, at least in the US, there are cases that there is a tower companies. And that's from the mobile network point of view as well. There are tower companies who build the mobile network towers, and so it could be as well that there is a local or local company who owns all the bus stops, all the light poles, etc. in the city infrastructure, and then shares and sells the capacity of sites for the users who needs them. So again, it's depend on the case by case. Or local rules and regulations.
Understood. Mike, could you have anything to add? Is that correct, or is it?
Yeah, that's the case. And as said, depending so much on the region and on the business environment as well. Of course, one thing I forgot to say that there are, I guess, more and more such kind of, let's say, innovation funding funds as well who are interested in this kind of. So there is money available in the world, and that money is looking for useful kind of targets as well. But I think that city needs to have a driver role as well. Oh, city can have a driver role, but maybe not in funding, but somehow boosting it, helping it, and making it happen. And we see some cities much more active than others, so as well. So.
Yeah, I suppose I think it's agreed that there is a huge liquidity for ESG projects, environment, social and governance projects, and most of these, especially when you talk about the let's say healthcare, well-being, and sustainability aspect of it. I would suppose there is enough liquidity, multi-trillion dollars that are being made available by investment companies. So I think the main issue would be convincing stakeholders, city management or governments to about the benefits of this and how the risks can be mitigated in terms of compliance, in terms of obsolescence as well. I mean, it's a real issue in your sector that there is a new technology every couple of years or even months. So I think that's a main issue in terms of getting to sign actual commercial implementation of the project.
Yes, that's really true. And if I can complement on that, so in terms of the radio technology, I think that this is also the way that the next generation 6G is following. So we are preparing for that. So that's good to know as well and notice. And maybe the other note still at this point is that, of course, we are not just kind of building infra and poles. The real reason is to make those services and platform for that. And utilizing the data we can collect through this network, but also especially combining that to other data sources, as you mentioned already as well. So, for example, using the Vaisala weather and equality data with many other sources in the same way to telescope camera data. So you can really build valuable services where the business is as well, and which make the change for the cities as well.
Thank you, Dr. Markku. I think this question is for Dr. Jani. You might have touched on it a little bit in your opening remarks earlier, but what with concerns around data breaches, how is data kept secure, and does this require special expertise in the cities the ecosystem is deployed?
Well, as I mentioned, you need to build the system so reliable that it cannot be hacked. Of course, they say that everything is hacked at the end of the day, but
yeah, I was going to ask the hypothetical.
Yeah, of course, but you should build it as proven and hardened system as you can, and then you need to have this clear process and device management and access control, very clear rules how to do that. Even today, there are now a lot of then and now you read. I just received in the Finnish papers there were some passwords, millions of passwords were leaked from several different places, and so.
And I would, and I would. Sorry, Dr. Yanni, go ahead.
Yeah, well, it will be challenge forever the cyber security, but you need to just be up to date with that. That's what you can do.
And I would suppose with 20. Yes, Dr. Pekka, go ahead.
Yeah, so if I can kind of quickly comment that you asked that what kind of do you need a special competencies from a city or something kind of like that. So I would say that implementing it, they will get it from the company who is implementing the work. So that's kind of can be done as secure as possible, and you don't need to. The city doesn't have that kind of a knowledge, but in usage they need to be as Jani mentioned about the password security and how to use the system. So there is the biggest breaches, because you can make the network so secure that any hacking or breaches are almost impossible. It's never totally impossible. But so you can kind of and as for example our test network. So we have 70 different cameras in this test network, but they are not on all the time. So they are only used when needed. So when there is the use case need, if it's for example the public safety case or the autonomous vehicle driving, then they are used, and if they are not needed to collect kind of a personal data, then the data stream is anonymized. So trying to avoid the possibility of any personal data breaches.
Yeah, I suppose with 26 consortium members, including Nokia, you would suppose that the system is undergoing as much stress as it can, but also we've also seen in the past where some of the data breaches happen from the most low-tech sort of ways. I mean, it's people, processes, and technology at the end of the day. So yeah, it's right. The usage end, there's really no 100% guarantee, I would suppose.
But there's also kind of a method of making so that you can only access the data or the data source you need. So if you need to, you want to see the environment monitoring or air quality index value, you are only seeing that sensor. You don't have access to the camera. So there is a techniques to kind of avoid this one as well. So that the, let's say, clumsy users doesn't create any problems.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thanks for clarifying that, Pekka. How do you, I think there's a question in terms of, can this smart pole be rolled out globally? I think what you're trying to ask is, does this require 5G to be implemented globally for a global implementation of a smart pole to happen?
Yes, definitely we can roll out and the smart poles globally, but in a way the smart pole concept and the data collection concept from the IoT point of view is a kind of agnostic to the mobile technology. So we prefer, of course, it to be 5G, but you can still use 4G, but or other technologies. But then there is a limitation in the capacity. And we are preferring to or talking about the 5G because we see that some of these new features, services like public safety and autonomous driving, they need enormous upstream capacity, which cannot be provided properly with the LTE systems. Not maybe even a kind of a private LTE, but at least kind of using the commercial networks, there is always so much users that your capacity is limited. So that's 5G, and especially later millimeter wave, where you can have a tens of gigabits per single user. So.
Okay, thank you, Pekka. Marco, did you mention about 6G? Is that correct? Did I hear you say 6G a bit earlier in your comment?
Yes. So it seems that we can follow on that path as well. So it seems that 6G is built on a similar basis as this one, the next generation 5G.
Okay. A really relevant question, I would suppose. How will the LuxTurrim5G offering show up in the Finland pavilion in Expo Dubai? Are we going to build a setup at the pavilion in Dubai?
Yes, actually, if I start, so we are having actually two functional poles there. One inside the Finland pavilion and the other one outside. So these are working and demonstrating some services. And I don't know if Pekka wants to open up a bit already the secrets we are bringing there.
Yeah, okay. I can maybe open up the secrets a little bit. So we are showcasing a couple of service examples, so related to public safety, especially this data privacy protection with anonymizing the video streams, weather monitoring, of course, and then also some video analytics. Let's keep that in a secret, what kind of analytics we are having there. But functional demos as well, and then of course there will be actually there is two big info terminal displays as well to showing the information and the use case videos, etc., from the whole LuxTurrim ecosystem.
Sure. Okay. Right. Another question from the audience: what is the next phase of development for LuxTurrim5G? I know you're in pre-commercial for many projects, but can you talk a little bit about the path going forward for the platform?
So what we have achieved so far is that we, as said, the smart pole concept has been developed into a phase that we have a pre-commercial product available, and that's actually a modular product. So we have different modules for the pole, so that is the basis for the smart pole family, for different use cases, for different environments. So whether they are parks or streets or roads and so on, and with different equipment combinations. Another thing what we have achieved is that we have a living test lab, let's say living lab in a way, or test environment around Nokia campus in Espoo, Finland, with 19 connected poles, 2 smart and safe bus stops. We have the drone there, we have the autonomous bus working on there. So and altogether more than 250 connected IoT devices. So that environment will stay there, and that will be used more and more to new service developments. So the next steps, I would say, that are larger, let's say, commercial or pre-commercial pilots in certain cities. We have got requests from many sites already, but for scaling up and then continuing the service development. And of course, for that also we invite all of you from the audience. Maybe you might have ideas which things you want to develop with us. So our test environment is available for joint actions. But the third thing is, of course, that the data platform and data marketplace will be demonstrated, I would say, still during this year. We are working on that and trying to kind of demonstrate the ways how you can really play with different type of data and in business-wise as well, with the aim to have a kind of fair data market.
Right. In terms of this might be confidential at the moment, but one of our audience wants to find out whether do you have trials or pilot projects outside of Finland, Dubai, Singapore. Is there anything you can talk about at this stage?
Yeah, unfortunately, there is nothing kind of public to talk about. Sorry.
Okay. It's okay. There's a concept of a neutral host. Is that Is that something that the consortium will also provide, or is that a concept, or is that a technology itself, the neutral host?
Yeah, that's a kind of a concept or business model, and that we have developed so far, and that we will. This one part which will be continued to further develop and provide as a kind of I don't know, is it word correct to say that provide as a service, but in any way as a kind of put more concrete as an in practical what it would mean in a one of the next pilots. But in short, it means that there is a kind of a neutral local body or organization who is taking care of the building the network, maintaining the network, operating it, providing the basic services for the local developer community and the local cities, local businesses in the city, etc.
Sure. I'm not sure if any of the consortium members have done business in the Middle East. I mean, I've seen that even for transport, let's say rolling stock, Siemens or Alstom, they still need to do additional tests and tailor their coaches, for instance, to fit the extreme weather in the Middle East region. Is there anything you can say in terms of how you and the consortium members are making sure, let's say, that the system can adapt to extreme weather such as 50 degrees in the summer in certain parts of the region of the Middle East?
Yeah, we have been taking care of different kind of environmental conditions in our basic hardware and development, for example, related to the smart poles. But of course, kind of as you can expect, that our testing has been in Finland in Finnish conditions, so that's not exactly the same as the 50 degrees plus. Right. But in a kind of simulation-wise, yes, that's been kind of considered and understood that we are from the beginning we have targeting to all our products, all our services as a global market. So
right. Tommy, do you have anything to say in terms of again, the extreme weather and how it could affect, let's say, promote? I mean, basically, when June, July rolls out here in the region, then we mostly stay indoors because there's humidity, there's heat, and do you have any specific projects, whether it's related to LuxTurrim5G or not, that you can talk about?
Yeah, so we are Vaisala, a global player, so we sell in more than 100 countries globally. So and related to your questions, extreme weather is not an issue. So what we do in terms of hardware is designed for the harshest conditions. So Vaisala is present on 2 planets actually. We are on Earth, supplying all kind of weather and environmental sensors, but we have also been on Mars, part of the rover expedition recently on the International Space Station. So that's part of the company expertise. So the sensor work in all kind of weather conditions.
Right. In terms of your trial projects, for instance, what are the top 3 questions or problems that you hear from potential users that they want to address, where it has not been addressed by any previous technology? Do you have a specific top 3 concerns, Dr. Markku or Pekka, perhaps?
Well, I don't know if this is a technology-related thing, but very beginning at least, our first version of our smart pole that was said that it's a Christmas tree, and that was another positive remark. So it was full of bells and whistles, and it really looked like a Christmas tree. And they were kind of saying that city representatives were saying that I don't want this kind of a pole in my city, so it's too ugly. And we took a learning from that one, and as you saw in the video, now most of the devices which can be are kind of hidden and camouflaged. So that's kind of at least that's a learning to understand that in a city environment you must have also design aspect, not the technical bells and whistles. That's not enough. You need to have industrial design is one key aspect there to be taken into account when designing infrastructures in a city.
Yeah, it seems very sleek. I would suppose the design. So also it's modular. In terms of is there a minimum side of features that people can purchase, and then in terms of the number of poles, is the unlimited as much as the network capacity can accommodate? Have you tried? Have you done a sort of test in terms of, is there a maximum number of poles you can install?
No, that's really dependent on the area, what kind of area you want to cover, and how many lights or poles or any other base station or IoT device sites you want to have in the system. And to that, so our smart pole especially is very modular. So it's typically maybe there is this kind of what we call a complete solution. It's not all the poles in the same area are similar. So all configurations slightly different. So typically the pole may have lights and then 1 or 2 services supported. So it could have for example, camera setup with the lights or the environmental monitoring setup with the lights. So this is the kind of how the modularity is designed just to be for that one. Those kind of easy deployments, and you can even start kind of with a very limited number of features and functionality, and upgrade on the fly. So the structure is like actually so that you can replace the pole modules on the field.
Interesting. And well, we're down to the last few minutes of this session. Is there would you have any message coming to Dubai in October and promoting this sort of platform? I'll give each you guys a minute or half a minute to address our audience in the Middle East. Dr. Markku?
So welcome all to visit us and see on site the functional poles and our kind of examples on the services. So this is something that we are ready to tailor make to your needs.
Thank you. Yanni?
Yes, I think there is a good opportunity to see in more detail in Dubai the expo. We have 3 displays there, for example. One of the displays is providing information of the LuxTurrim only, and then there is Business Finland information, other display, and then we have these different demos which can give you just an idea what you can do. So
thank you.
Please visit.
Thank you, Yanni. Tommy?
Yeah, so we'll be there as well. And from our side, really weather and air quality environment expertise is something we are extremely delighted to discuss with potential cities, partners, or businesses as well. So how we can support you in the Middle East.
Thank you. And final word from Pekka.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the final possibility to have the final words. Yes, so please come and visit the Expo Finnish Pavilion, and there is this, as I said already, the LuxTurrim 2 poles displays, also LuxTurrim own demo spot, but also there is a Nokia demo spot, and so please come and visit and bring your checkbook with you.
Well, that's an amazing way to end this panel discussion. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Yanni, Markku, Tommy, and Pekka. It's been a delightful hour of discussions. Thank you, and I'll see you in Dubai in October. Thank you, gentlemen. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.